happened in the early game now is that Orange has bought himself 3 or 4 turns worth of time to level up on the Dr. Boom stakes. Because just from the early aggression.
Do you like this novice engineer that also doesn't put a 1/1 in play?
Just
The one thing I said to Orange before his match started was, just make sure your Battle Rage draws at least 2 cards. And he said that's what he's going to try to do.
But. It's... And he's gonna take the advice of the Las Vegas runner-up. Seems like good advice to take. But very tough play to make, because you're panicking, your hand's awful. Your 3/3 will probably be dealt with, so getting 2 cards from it seems a million miles away right now. It'd be interesting to see if he actually does get 2 cards ever, or if he ends up bailing for 1 card later on.
I will say that Hunterace has been drawing pretty dead right now. You know, he does have an Omega Assembly in his deck. He also has a Blastmaster Boom of his own that when he plays it is going to be very impactful, I would say. But, I mean, Hunterace knows Orange's hand right now, that he has a Brawl and a Warpath.
Right. Oh.
Hunterace picks up another Blast Shield.
Is that good right now, though, when they've both got dead
Yes,
hands? Would you rather have Delivery Drone and just put something good on the board?
I think that Hunterace can just decide, like, play it very slowly right now, you know? He's really not pressuring Orange at this point.
Snip, snap. Somebody I met, I can't remember who, just said that was a really good card.
I'm not actually sure if you play it right now. I feel like pressing the button here when Orange just went Armor Up Pass is really powerful. You know, because you know he has a Warpath in his hand. Like, let's say his hand is something like Warpath Execute, which is what his hand is actually.
Yeah.
He just goes Warpath, Execute your 6/9 or 6/8. Warpath again, Hero Power. And you just lost out on 7 armor. Yeah. I really like this play from Hunterace, where you just pass. Because the onus is on Orange to actually kill you. Ooh, that is a good draw.
Now we have a Hearthstone game.
Delivery Drone, not Delivery Drone.
Job done.
And suddenly the game is almost level, especially with the Battle Rage option in hand for Orange later. That might be a...
Yeah, it's really good right now because he's 14 armor away from actually activating it. So it's a solid draw 0.
Hunterace does have 1 assembly and Orange does not.
Yep.
That'll be a big deal as this...
Weaponized Pinata.
Yeah, why not? Why not get yourself a good card? I'm not saying Weaponized Pinata is a good card, but random legendaries are never quite as good as you instinctively think.
In this kind of spot, I think it actually is quite good. You're not under pressure of dying, and it's more about a value game. Like, maybe you just even play it right now.
Yeah, it's just an annoying question that you don't want to have to answer, but you kind of do have to.
The other thing that it does is it kind of reveals what Orange's hand is. Hunterace hasn't played any minions so far, right? So he hasn't really forced Orange to answer anything. When you play this and you see Orange just has no clean way of answering it, you're going to say, wow, his hand is bad. Like, you already know he has a Brawl and a Warpath. Those are 2 bad cards, but you don't know the context of the Battle Rage and the Execute.
Yeah, you just don't want to answer. Orange might take the hit a couple of turns here, depending what happens. Well, that makes things more interesting.
Anything about, like, Acolyte Warpath?
I mean, that's the thing that jumps out to someone like myself. My hand is horrible, and I've got a chance to make it less horrible and kill my opponent's minion. But that Warpath... the Warpath goes down in value a little bit, I feel, once you've got Dr. Boom in play, because you've got the 2... hero powers that actually deal with one quite well.
It's also, like, fatigue matters a lot. Like, we're in a spot where they're both pretty similar in fatigue, even though that Orange is at 15. He does have a lot of bombs in his deck, right? If Orange plays Acolyte Warpath, then he is eliminating that advantage that he has.
Yes, in fact, it's probably exactly level and actually put himself quite way behind. I think there's 3 bombs in Orange's deck, so it would be 12-12 in real terms.
So, Hunterace is slightly behind in fatigue because it goes to him to draw. So he'll always draw first. So if they both are taking 7 or something, Hunterace takes the first 7. And combined with, like, the life point advantage that Orange has right now, you really don't want to play this Acolyte. Like, fatigue is how you win this game. Yeah, so the restraint from Orange here not to play this Acolyte, I really like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. He'll want to play it on a turn where he judges how many cards and how much desperation he's in, and he can take a couple of hits for 4. He doesn't want to, but when you've got Dr. Boom in play, you can deal with a 4-2 with 3 of the 5 hero powers, and the other 2 are just good. So
Yep. Quite right.
here comes some damage, though.
I hope that he plays an Eternium Rover alongside this. I'm thinking here we play 3 Snip Snaps, but I want to go Snip Snap on my 4-2, and then go Eternium Rover, Snip Snap on the Eternium Rover.
Okay, so you've got protection from all kinds of different things. Brawl protection. For later, you've got 1/1 protection.
This makes Execute a little too good, I would say. Maybe you're. Yeah, I really like playing the Eternium Rover alongside this. If Orange doesn't have Execute, then this will run away with the game, but he does run 2 copies. He did use one very early on, Cool Taskmaster Execute.
He's valuing 10 damage to the face that he might never get, because he knows that Orange has the Brawl Warpath.
Sure.
And so he may never get another 10 damage in ever again. Well, unfortunately, there's the Battle Rage plan, and maybe he chose not to draw a card for the Battle Rage, not because he's saving for 2, because he's saving for 0.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think at this point Orange should just not play his Battle Rage.
Yeah, I think he may have had the fairly easy read that Hunterace didn't have a very aggressive hand, and just gone with, okay, let's just wait this out.
It's a lot better in the early game than in the late game. You know, Battle Rage in the early game will find you your Dr. Boom and Blastmaster Boom more consistently than the normal Bomb Warrior will, but once both players have those cards, then it becomes a lot less important.
This Armor Smith's actually going to be significantly better than it may appear as well. It's not a fantastic card, but bits and pieces of armor, if we're going to fatigue, can make a difference.
Did you see the legendary that Hunterace got? Hyreek the Bat.
I can't even remember what that does. I'm going to
It's an 8-mana 1/1 that summons a bunch of stuff. So it summons more 8-mana 1/1s. It summons copies of itself. It's like a doppelganger that fills your entire board of 1/1s.
And Orange has just used the Warpath.
And the Battle Rage.
Improve morale. This is where Orange is drawing all the cards that are built for that early game, and the downside is if you get them late,
Yes.
they're not Omega Devastator.
It's called fast because he wants to kill his opponents fast.
Yeah.
And this game did not go fast.
Always was the problem with curvy mid-range decks.
This would be a good
If you drew it in the wrong order, it just looks like junk. Obviously, there's a lot of very good cards still in Orange's deck.
I believe Hunterace still has a Zilliax in his deck at the moment.
Yes, he does.
Wouldn't be surprised to see Eternium Rover plus Militia Commander come down. Another big thing to keep in mind is Hunterace still has his Blastmaster Boom. That could easily...
that just levels up the scores.
Yeah, that could swing the game very quickly. I think it actually puts Hunterace at an advantage at that point.
I feel like he's a long way ahead, partly because the early advantage for Orange has gone, and he's now going to draw bad cards. Partly because Hunterace has the 1 assembly, and...
What spells can you get off of Ethereal Lackey that are just incredible in Warrior?
In Warrior.
This would be a good time
Warrior
for
spells
a
are kind
master
of
plan.
bad.
Boom Ship is not good.
Yeah.
That's the most expensive one.
I've always seemed to remember that when you do like Tavern
Dragon's
Brawls
Roar.
and things, when you're looking for Warrior cards, they're just not good.
Dragon's Roar.
Yes.
That's the one.
That works. And he needs something like that because he hasn't got a way of refueling, and Hunterace is going to get those ways of refueling.
And Witchy Lackey is not an Ethereal Lackey.
This is also
Now, we could Witchy Lackey, or Orange could Witchy Lackey an Acolyte of Pain, get a random 4-drop into another Pinata, into a Toki.
Yeah, keep going. Into a Boom.
No, not into a Boom. What's the best value legendary you can get?
Well, 3 Booms in a game is just great. The best value legendary in all of Hearthstone.
Archbishop Benedictus.
The big Shredder.
The big Sneed's Old Shredder.
Yeah.
Sneed's Old Shredder into another Sneed's Old Shredder.
So what we're saying is Orange has got some difficulties. That's the short version of that conversation.
Yeah.
And again, just to point out, it's obvious they're both playing Fatigue. No Town Crier played from Hunterace. Do you think when you play test with somebody a lot, do you get better reads on them when you're playing against them?
Kind of. You understand their thought process a lot better. You know, I think you get into the mindset of how they're going to approach the game at a macro level, but at every like micro turn, you know, if you're playing against a smart person,
yeah,
it's going to be complicated. They also are aware that you know, it's kind of like a mind game.
Be able to read them.
Okay, then.
Interesting, in Hunterace's interview at the very start of this, he was saying that Orange has always had the best of him. Orange did beat him in Montreal last year, for instance. And he's the sort of person, I don't put much stock in that normally. I did mention it to you yesterday. You said that players do know sort of they're bogey players. But Hunterace is the sort of player that could bother a little bit. He hates having any sort of stat that isn't in his favour.
Are you saying that Hunterace dislikes losing? That's a hot take.
Yeah. So I was doing...
Weaponized Pinata! Off the Witchy Lackey! No.
No, the Toki dream is over. Yeah, I was doing, obviously, stats last year, and Hunterace was a little bit behind, just saying. And it was only a rough guide to who was doing well. It wasn't, like, professionally done stats or anything.
Are you talking about your ELO chart?
Yeah, the ELO chart. And he stayed in DreamHack Winter when he was on a very low day one score, just so he could beat some people on day two, so his stats would look better.
Yeah.
And nobody cares apart from him, if you see what I mean. Nobody sits there and goes, wow, Lorinda's stats, I'm the best player in the world. You win the world championship if you want to do that.
Well, that's what he did.
So he did that instead, yeah, when he realized the first thing wasn't working.
But he wanted every metric to say that, right?
But yeah, he wanted to go out there and just play Hearthstone.
By the end of it, every metric kind of did say that. Yeah,
there was just nothing that, apart from the streak from Just Saying, of course, where he just won over 30 Hearthstone rounds in a row.
I love that fuse thing.
And if you're wondering why I'm talking about this, it's because I'm waiting for Orange to draw a card that influences the game.
Right now, Hunterace is so far ahead that...
And he knows Orange's hand.
It's one brawl.
Yeah, he knows that, okay, if you want to brawl this, good luck to you. I know you haven't got any way of dealing with this apart from your one brawl. And that's fine, because then I can just dump all these good cards on the board.
Another Battle Rage for one card. So technically, Battle Rage did draw 2 this game.
Yeah, he just ignored your advice at the end of the day. And that's why he's behind. No, he's behind because...
That Battle Rage could draw 10 cards, and it would not be good.
That would be really bad, because
actually,
there's several bombs and you'd fatigue.
Yeah.
Let's do that. That might be the right play right now.
I mean, you had the Battle Rage here. You had to find something that influences this game, but Town Crier is not going to be it.
It's really not it.
And, like, Orange is in a spot where he really doesn't want to brawl because Hunterace has the follow-up. But if he doesn't brawl, he's still taking just a boatload of damage from these 1/1s.
Yeah, 5 a turn when you're headed towards fatigue is just massive.
Zap going upstairs, probably, yep. Orange is looking for the Kaboom hero power, which is pretty funny, I would say. It's very rare that the Kaboom hero power is the best one you can find.
What's interesting here is that Hunterace can't really play his Blastmaster Boom because he's got these silly bats on the board, but it doesn't matter because they're doing damage.
He has too many minions already.
Because he's doing too well.
That's so upsetting.
Yeah.
That's not a
and
bad
after this turn, he'll be ahead on health total as well.
Well, I mean, even without the bombs, right? Because with the bombs, he's ahead by 15 now.
Yeah.
Possibly 20, right? Are there 4 bombs?
I think it's 4 versus 1.
Yeah, 4 versus 1.
And I use the word I think very strongly because...
Yes. So we're looking at around a 15-point differential in terms of bomb damage.
Yeah.
There's no Elysiana in either player's deck list, which means that if this game goes to fatigue, Orange is taking all of that bomb damage, which puts his effective health total right now at 4. With the Zap, he's at an effective health total of 1.
So Orange has to play this, I feel like Blastmaster Boom is Hunterace's bottom card.
This would be a good time.
So if he does anything now that looks weird, he's just going to go, okay, what can I beat? I might be able to beat bottom card Blastmaster Boom.
I think when he sees that this Blastmaster is coming down next turn, he's going to give up very quickly.
I'm just sad that we didn't get to see much of the how this deck does silly things shenanigans. Because of the order that Orange has drawn the cards, we didn't get to see potentially weird things happening on turns 1, 2, 3. Hopefully we get to see that in game 2, assuming that he loses this and nothing crazy happens. And now
Omega Assembly is a great draw, but I don't even think it would matter. Hunterace could draw not a single card for the rest of the game, and he probably wins.
Yeah. Yes, this is the part where you've got to clear your head and say what all my plays are so good, and this is where Hunterace can become absurd, where he still wants to make the absolute best play here. I've just played a couple of cards by now and moved
Last
on with my
Master
life.
Boom summoning 6 Boom Bops does seem pretty decent.
But could you do it at a better time later?
Well, what he's doing right now is
he wins the game with this play, so it's fine. I've just spoken to Hunterace enough to know that he will still be working out. What if he's better next turn after playing this tempo turn, even though we can all see it just doesn't matter.
3 bombs still, 2 left. Orange is almost mathematically out of this game at this point.
Yeah, if the bombs all hit for 1, his Eternia Rover hits 25 times, Hunterace has still got Blast Shield. That's when you start looking like you might be in a tiny bit of trouble, Orange.
Okay,
It was a bit
then.
sad to hear Orange in his piece at the start of the game saying that he didn't think he had a good year last year. And I think that's come about because he didn't have a good year necessarily in terms of Western exposure, but he came second in a Gold Series Open with over 1,000 players.
That's really, that's really hard. Is it 1,000 in 24-man bracket?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't get that much exposure outside of people who knew him on Twitter, etc., because not many people watch that scene.
By
That's
the way,
an incredible result.
You might notice what survived the brawl there.
I mean, I wasn't looking at the screen. I was talking to you about Orange because I knew this game was over some time ago.
Yes.
I give up. Self-destruct!
Game 1 going to Hunterace. Azalina, I would call it a whiff.
It was a whiff, and part of that was Hunterace's doing because he did play for tempo, but he also made sure there wasn't much lying around in his hand.
Well, you saw what happened.
manipulated
He
his hand
played
to
his
keep
Omega
it.
Devastators, on turn 4, turn 5, just got them out of his hand. Didn't give Orange really any chance to punish him.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things. I don't think we're ever going to get a good view of this deck over the course of 4 or 5 games of Hearthstone. That's why I want Orange to draw the fast draw, so we see how it looks when it doesn't look bad.
It seems a little bit high variance where the cards line up, and if they do line up, it's really great. But if it gets to the late stages of the game, which Bomb Warrior mirror matches can sometimes.
Yeah, and you've got to. I mean, Orange has said he's practiced this long and hard. It's something that Orange does. He looks at things for a long time, plays them a lot. But with these high variance decks, you have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, for how long did it take people to realize that Yogg-Saron was definitely busted? For 90% of people to agree.
Sure. There's still a lot of arguments about that throughout its life cycle.
Until it got towards the end when
card.
we've seen it in Druid, but
yeah.
it wasn't obvious. I mean, everyone in chat is now saying, of course it was obvious, it's absolutely obvious, but it wasn't obvious at the time.
I just remember that one Yogg-Saron with Monsanto versus Dude 7597 to American players. Monsanto's actually in Grandmasters, and he was just so far behind. He plays Yogg-Saron, and somehow his opponent's board just dies.
Right.
He gets a full board and like 10 life, and he played 5 spells over the course of the game.
And that was sort of fairly early on in the
Yes.
in the career of Yogg, when people started to realize, hang on, Jackie Chan was right all along.
That actually brings up another point. If we get Toki and Yogg-Saron that game, that's an easy win.
Yeah, you played a spell or 2 in Warrior.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so we heard that Orange is going to go with his tertiary deck. Let's take a look at exactly what is in that deck.
Yes, I believe. Okay, so it is 2 Omega Assemblies and an Archivist Lysiana. Those are both very powerful cards in the matchup. I think that Archivist Lysiana is something that can actually swing the matchup. You play it in Fatigue, you kind of win the game if your opponent doesn't have it. Assembly is just another good value card in the matchup where you get to this point where you have no mechs in your hand and you just need stuff to deal with the board. Omega Assembly kind of does all of that.
Yeah, we saw that
value and tempo.
Could well have been the closer for Hunterace had he
Sure.
not drawn Blastmaster as well. And obviously, Kern's just annoying. It's just really irritating.
I think that Cairn is something that you like when you're playing for tempo and you've already got like the 1, 3, 4, 5 curve. That's when Cairn is at its best.
Yeah, I feel that this deck looks like it puts Orange in a really good position. But let's see how Hunterace is intending to counter that with his secondary deck and the route he has taken for the mirror match.
Also makes sense to me. I really like the addition of Geppetto Joybuzz. I think that's a pretty cool addition.
Talk to me about Geppetto a little bit, because I'm not convinced that this card's great. I know it really works well with Battlecry cards and obviously with cards with good effects, but also it kind of weakens your minions too.
So I have seen this card in action with a slightly different list where you play it with Barista Lynchin. You would go Geppetto, and if you get a Barista at 1 mana or a Blastmaster Boom at 1 mana, suddenly you kind of pop off because you just get like a second Blastmaster Boom. Hunterace doesn't actually have that in his deck list, so I'll be a little bit more interested to see how it works.
We've seen it even sneak into some rogue builds, right?
Yes.
People are just trying to
Against
use
Warrior.
all the Battlecry
Warrior.
effects.
For the exact same reason, you get Shark or Togwaggle at 1 mana, and again, you pop off. So I'm not really sure how it works in this list without Barista, but it's still probably a pretty decent card in the matchup. You know, it cycles towards your Blastmaster Boom.
Interesting to me that this still keeps the crux of the deck together for Orange. He still has that very fast start. And with Kern, if you can curve into your silly things, your Taskmaster start, and then drop a Kern,
Yeah.
it's much better in this than it is maybe in more traditional Bomb Warrior, I think.
And I mean, this is kind of the start that we're talking about that Orange wants to see. He has Clockwork Goblin and Snip Snap. I think those are two very powerful cards in conjunction with each other. If you go coin Clockwork Goblin, they don't answer it. You play Snip Snap on it. I think the only answer is Spellbreaker, which Hunterace cut from his deck.
Right, yeah.
So,
because you're not expecting that start to happen.
yes,
So.
a 5/6 is not a card that Warrior can ever answer. Shield Block, Shield Slam only deals 5. Militia Commander only deals 5.
And you get a chance to say how good
There's
Snip Snap is
legitimately
again.
no answer in Hunterace's deck if the Clockwork Goblin lives.
Most of it's a bit dead, but Hunterace's hand also a little bit dead.
I would say that Orange's hand is very much alive right now. Having coin 3 into 3 is just incredibly powerful.
Not so much in this mirror match, but obviously
No, I think
you
in
played
this
Warrior
mirror
match. How Omega Assembly? Just talk to me about how good that card can be on turns 1, turn 3 in much more aggressive matchups like Token Druid.
Generally, with Omega Assembly, this is how I'd play it.
Here comes the coin, by the way. Yep.
Yep. If I was on the coin, let's say my hand is a 3-drop and no really other gas, and I've got an Omega Assembly. I'm probably going to play the Omega Assembly turn 1 because one of the easy ways to win this matchup is going coin 3 into 3. So if you go Omega Assembly in turn 1 and you get like another 3-drop, like Snip Snap or Clockwork Goblin, that's super powerful.
Okay.
Orange has that exact start that I was talking about. This is the nuts in this matchup.
And then he gets to refuel with the Acolyte after the
Yeah.
stuff spin. If Hunterace deals with it, you get to drop your Acolyte, refuel yourself, set up an Execute, because Acolyte works well with Execute, oddly enough.
This is so smart from Hunterace. Actually, sorry, I may have misspoken. What I was thinking about was that he was only at 2 armor instead of 3, but obviously this is still quite good.
Yeah, he's
But
so smart. He's
there-
killed
there-
the thing after your opponent's coined out.
Yes.
But yeah, sure, we'll take that one.
What I was trying to say was, if he was at 2 armor, you could Shield Slam preemptively, and then the Militia Commander kills the Snip Snap. However, obviously that's pretty dumb. You just kill the minion, so it's dead. Excellent work, Hunterace. Apologies for that.
It's good. It shows that you're human. Otherwise, you'd have won Vegas if you were inhuman. like a dog.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. Well, dog's an animal.
It really is. Wow. So trying to set it up again, obviously it's not going to work this time because it just gets killed, but... nothing else to do. And that's one of the things you've got to do when you're trying to battle for tempos. Like, the weapon's going to be there until you make it kill something, so suck it up and make it kill something and try and get the board again the next turn.
Orange still doesn't have any weapon removal in his deck, so using your weapon now, just you don't need to. You know, if Orange sided in Harrison Jones, then you'd be much more apt to actually use it this turn. Harrison Jones killing 1 durability wrench caliber is actually incredibly good.
Hunterace has a lot of options here, actually. None of them are particularly thrilling, but it's like the difference between taking the 3 damage or leaving your weapon up, knowing there's no weapon removal, so it can hang around and you can use your militia commander instead. But do you want to use that on something a bit more chunky later on in a bigger turn?
Another thing he wants to consider is how the bomb timing works. If you shovel bombs in your opponent's deck early, it gives them more chance to draw it. You don't want your opponents to draw it until after you've played your Blastmaster build. So he's factoring in the fact that there is no weapon destruction in Orange's deck, and he also wants the bomb for later. I think this looks quite good.
And he has good reason to believe, given how the game has gone. He knows the snip snap's almost certainly there now because he's seen both goblins, and that wasn't the second one. He knows there's a 3-drop that's being waiting to be played.
It could have been another Clockwork Goblin.
But
possibly.
he's played both now.
Yeah.
He just drew the second one.
I mean, well, it could also be a 7-drop.
Sure.
But it's less likely at that point because he went coin 3.
Yeah, because he's used the coin, which you
Exactly.
want to save for your 7 because you want to.
However, there's a lot of mind games that apply to that.
I realise, but he knows that there's a likely good minions in hand, even if you can't identify which ones.
It might have been one of those hands where he mulliganed into, like he could have Blastmaster Moon, Clockwork Goblin, and then he mulliganed into another 3-drop, and then you go, oh, coin into coin.
Right.
You know, so like, you get like a soft read there, but not a hard one.
Soft rates are good things, though. They're underrated.
Yeah.
Generalising roughly what your opponent might have. Obviously, knowing the exact cards makes a massive difference, but it is handy. Yeah, and Hunterace's last turn has made this Devastator not fun. And that turn was Orange giving up on the tempo plan and going for something else.
Yes.
He's got Elysiana, he's got the board that allows him to go a long game. And I feel like the decision that turn took so long because it's, do I keep trying with the tempo plan early?
I mean, I think even with Elysiana, you still want to play the tempo game. I think that you want to put your opponent in a spot where they have to play defensively, and then you have the Elysiana to back it up, and then, you know, it's fine if you also play defensively. However, if you don't, like, check your opponent's tempo and they, like, run you out of the game, then Elysiana isn't nearly as good because you'll be at, you know, 8 life when you play it and they just kill you, even if you're still winning in fatigue.
Yeah, last turn, if he'd played, say, Devastate to occupy the board, Hunterace trades in weapon 2/2, makes a minion, Orange on the defensive. So he's just committed to the next 2 or 3 turns playing reactively and then trying to find a better opportunity to create the tempo, create a swing turn, which with it goes a lot of tempo swing.
Militia Commander lines up really nicely versus this 4/5.
What now?
Then it's like, do you execute the 2/2? Probably not.
I learned
but
from
it's
listening
really
to you and watching you playing this deck that the number of decisions you have to make about small amount of damage are much bigger than you expect.
Yes, I think that like it's actually a real consideration to execute a 2/2 there if you went with the Militia Commander. He decides instead to go for Snip Snap, so this is like a little bit different style of tempo. He kind of gives up. He kind of gives up, you know, 6 points of life here. He lets Hunterace hit him in the face for, you know, 6. But it's a lot harder of a minion to remove. First of all, it's a mech, so Dynamatic can't clear it. And just the stat line of a 4/6 with Death Rattles that summon more stuff is pretty much impossible for Hunterace to actually answer.
Yeah, and if Hunterace chooses to ignore it, it could go wrong for him in a hurry, because then the Militia Commander and execute, suddenly he's given himself a chance to set up his own swing turn.
Yep. Very smart.
And this is where Orange, Hunterace, and obviously several other GMs, probably half of them, are so deep in their thoughts some of these times. This is why people like Hunterace can get an advantage against other GMs.
I mean, this is just a really hard turn too, because there's like so many little numbers that aren't really lining up. You know, shield. You want to go Augmented Ela, Clockwork Goblin, Shield Slam, something like that, but it's only you know, you're still 1 off, so you'd have to trade in your 2/2, which means you can't do that anymore. I like going face here.
So does Hunterace.
Gives up the bomb. That actually is a little bit weird to me. Was developing the 3/3 there not as good? You got an extra bomb in your opponent's deck. I guess you lose a 3/3 from your hand. It's a really close decision. I guess my problem with it is since you have these double Omega Assemblies, you really don't have to worry that much about
your current hand.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in a couple turns from now, you're gonna have pretty much all the mechs you'll ever need.
What now?
Maybe he just likes the way the shapes work out here. A 3/4 can't be Warpathed here, which is something that might be a way that Orange could deal with things and not want to with some trades. So now he has to trade in more. Does it still Warpath for 3 actually?
Can he just trade 2 into
He can. It still work. Warpath would still work. So
Yeah.
it's not that.
In fact,
Defend the gates!
Yeah, with the 1/1s out there, whatever removal Orange wanted to use, he probably could have that.
this is getting executed. I mean, Orange is on quite the back foot right now. And that's really funny because he started this turn with coin 3 into 3. I mean, it was checked by the Shield Slam, and that was actually a huge deal, right?
These assemblies are going to be a huge deal. Oh, so's this.
Ooh, that is such a good
He wants
draw.
to play Dynamatic anyway this turn.
Yes, yes. That was the best draw in his deck. Legitimately the best draw in his deck. 3 mana, draw 3. And a Snip Snap picked up. Oh.
Every turn he's like, oh, that's a good card, because strange enough, there's good cards in this deck.
From Orange's side, though, we might still delay it 1 more turn. Or he might still delay it 1 more turn. His Grom is, you know, staving off the damage.
What now?
Dr. Boom, you can't actually fit into Hero Power alongside of it, and you'd still need to kill the 3/4 anyways next turn.
Yeah, you want it down by turn 9 at the very latest, though, obviously with the Omega Assembly in hand, so you want to be able to get the instant rush out of those.
And another thing to mention is that this stat line of a 10-6 is actually really difficult for Hunterace to clear. Warpath doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Omega Devastator, he's on 9 mana. Omega Devastator doesn't do it either.
Oh, wow. So then the decision becomes, do you kill it over 2 turns, or do you take a 50-50 and save yourself 10 damage half the time?
Or do you even just ignore it and play 3 Snip Snaps?
What now?
Because you're ahead by double
That
the health.
much, yeah, and taking a Pirate Blast is totally fine. I kind of like playing 3 Snip Snaps.
You've seen an execute.
How do you split it up is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out how many snip snaps
I wonder.
could a snip snap snip. Or
If a
something.
Snip Snap could Snip Snap.
Yeah. Basically. So let's see what Hunterace decides to go with these snip snaps.
I don't like putting it all in one minion, but I think a 4/6 and a 2/3 makes sense, or 3 2/3s makes sense. I actually like 4/6 and 2/3 the most. The reason I don't like the 6/9 is because Orange could go 1/1 in, execute, Warpath, something like that is just really strong. Yeah, this is actually what I think the optimal placement of Snip Snaps is.
When you were growing up, did you ever think you'd say that phrase in front of
really
live audience?
Really quickly. Well, can I interrupt you?
You do, quite often.
Okay. Is it called a Snip Snip Snap Snap?
What now?
Well, because it's...
Magnetized? Like how do you refer to it as?
Yeah, snip snap, snip snap.
It's not Snip Snap Snip Snap. I feel like it's Snip Snip Snap Snap.
I'm so
What bothers me is that it's snip snap with 1/4 in the name, but it's a 2/3.
It should have been a 1/4.
Yeah,
Is what you're saying?
for flavour, it should be a 1/4.
That lines up.
It would be pretty
It
broken as
checks
a
out.
3/12, but but I almost wonder if it was meant to be a 1/4, and then somebody realised that 2/3 just made the card significantly more useful.
I feel like the 1/4 it's really interesting, right? Because the 1/4 stat line is actually also pretty good, just in different ways.
Yeah.
It's more defensive.
So anyway, I do wonder if it was meant to be a 1/4 for that reason, because it's a really weird
Yep.
piece of wording.
Oh, Hunterace Chopdeck's his own Dr. Boom here.
There's a
really
Hearthstone
benefits
game
him.
going on, yeah.
Yeah, that really benefits him.
I'm so
Dr. Boom really benefits him. This is why we pay Gallon the big bucks, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. It's a good hero power as well. Hunterace deciding on how he does this. Does he want 4 1/1s or a 2/2 that summons 2
Okay,
1/1s?
then.
There's a couple other small factors, such as you get an extra 2 damage by leaving up the Snip Snap.
Excuse me, I just stare into space for a second. He's
No worries. Take your time.
Orange is in a position where he's going to have to be defensive for some time yet, I think.
Yep. Security rover definitely helps with that.
Has the buff helped it? I mean, it's obviously a buff helps things. That's why it's called a buff. But has it made much difference?
Yes, I think the additional health has helped it.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
You owed me that one, didn't you? Let's face it, that was a really bad timing on my part while you're still suffering from other comments.
It's kind of like asking someone, did you enjoy winning?
Yeah.
Did buffing the card make it better? Actually,
let me know when you
what?
finish, and I'll come back to casting.
Mulch Muncher got worse.
Yes, because of Hunterace.
Yes, because you would see Giant into Conjurer's Calling. At 10 mana, you get a thing with Rush, and now you can no longer do that.
But if you're playing Mage, you're doing it wrong anyway, usually.
That's fair.
If I'm playing Mage, I'm definitely doing it wrong. Interesting how often Cool Taskmaster looks good. Like, obviously here you don't want to play into Brawl anyway, but Cool Taskmaster just does things with a lot of the minions.
Yeah, I think
it's surprisingly useful.
I think with Boom Up, you really want to make you really want to take advantage of the hero power. Sometimes you can't really be afforded that luxury, but I think here Orange can definitely just go with the hero power instead. Repeated value is good in prolonged games.
Yeah, you talk in particular about tempo in this matchup, but there comes a point where it has just cancelled out and now you're into the grind.
When both players have Dr. Boom Mad Genius, but neither really has Blastmaster Boom, that's when we get to these prolonged game states. Yeah. Hunterace did pick up the Blastmaster Boom, but it is very late, so it becomes less about tempo at that point. Instead of just being the card that immediately wins the game, it becomes just a very good... It becomes a very good play, but it's not like immediately...
Yeah, you know your opponent can deal with it. They're going to
yes.
eat some damage, but later on you're going to eat the same amount of damage back most of the time.
Yes, and you're at a high enough life total where it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, I think Orange can still do with maybe one more Blast Shield at some time.
Absolutely.
Soon, just to be a bit more comfortable. He's got a lot of bombs in his deck. In the region of 4.
Orange having the Zilliax is quite nice for him.
Battle Rage could be really good after Elysiana.
It could also be really bad after Elysiana.
Depending on
what cards
what you've got in there. But it gives you a lot more options afterwards.
Sure.
You've got rid of the bombs and you're like, can I win this before fatigue with these 5 cards that I have?
It's actually an awkward board state for Orange to answer.
These are the turns where the good players show what they're worth, because I can clear this board or do a lot of damage to this board, but 3 turns later I won't have the card I need to deal with the next boards.
You have to deal with the 4/3.
Yep.
That's pretty obvious.
And also he's low enough on health that things like Wrench Caliber, you've got to be a little bit careful of taking too much of your own damage.
You don't want to use Zilliax. However, there's an issue where all of your mechs cost 4 mana, which means that if you go 4 mana mech into Zilliax, you no longer get to use the hero power.
And you want to use Zilliax later because you gain more health from it, is that?
Well, you just want to use Zilliax when you're getting the most amount of health.
Yeah, so when you've preferably after an Omega Assembly or
something like
a delivery drone, you can just make it into a nice big...
Good ones are like Vicious Scrap Hound, because it kind of doubles the amount that you get. I think Clockwork Goblin is also pretty good, but we kind of had to use both there, or Orange had to use both there to stabilize the board. Don't blame them. Well, besides the Goblin Bomb, that's actually really powerful.
That's ridiculous. We just talked about the power of Zilliax. We know that Devastate is good when these games do hit this equal board. Yeah, and suddenly Orange is just in danger of dying here.
He doesn't have a Brawl.
He still doesn't have a Brawl.
That is a good pickup for what Orange wants to do. One thing to note is that Piloted Reaper summons an Eternium Rover right now. So if you want to like fit in an extra...
Sure. And you do, because you don't want to take the 12.5 points of damage from these bombs.
Well, there's also a play where you do something like Omega Devastator plus Ziliax plus Eternium Rover, for example. It's complicated. Lots of decisions.
then.
They're all kind of bad. They're all ones that you don't want to have to take.
Yeah, and the problem isn't surviving one more turn. The problem is surviving 3 more turns.
Yes.
This turn...
The problem is surviving 10 more turns. There's still a lot of bombs in his deck that he has to fade. Hunterace has hard advantage at this point if you use all of your tools.
Save the rest for last.
Okay, he's done a lot of commands there. He's got this all in. See how it all unfolds. Could certainly do with the bomb's missing face. Kind of like the opposite of that.
Still going face with his hero.
Wow.
He recognizes that the damage total matters. Even at this point, damage always matters. You know, he could clear 1 from Hunterace's board.
Yep.
But he gets to deal 3 to take 1. That is a ratio that works in Orange's favor.
Even though he is
Yes.
in semi-danger of dying.
Grave danger, I would say.
Okay.
It just shows a lot of restraint, knowing that even though he is in
This would be a good
scary
time for
spot,
a
he still
master
has to push
plan.
as much damage as possible.
And that was a feature of all the tournaments that Hunterace won last year. He was willing also. I talk about it as if they're one person, because they kind of are in terms of their playtesting and the way they work together. Hunterace, in one particular match, I think it was in Italy, he literally risked like his opponent having Eviscerate for lethal in a rogue deck that had drawn lots of cards. And if they didn't have the Eviscerate, he would win. And if they did, obviously, he was just dead to the Eviscerate.
There was one at World Championships where he just Alex Strazes his opponent in the face.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He was against a Hunter.
So instead of saving it for a potential heal, maybe, or... Yeah.
Set up a 2-turn. If you got it, you got it.
Yeah, and the ability to know, I mean, we can all do that, but the ability to know when it's good and when it's not, whilst under pressure and playing for first prize of $250,000, you know.
Yeah, having to make risky plays under pressure is a hard thing to learn. It's a hard thing to do, honestly.
Yeah. It's hard enough making hard calls under pressure, knowing that people forget it next week, let alone actually playing.
Yeah.
So Orange, easy clears. Not easy clears.
What?
Messy as
Okay,
anything
then.
clears.
Messi's all get out, man. The good news is the hero power that you got was one of the better ones. Obviously, Kaboom here would have been the best. It's kind of funny how Kaboom is kind of lined up.
And
Nice.
this is a hard turn because he has to work out all of his mana usage, find out if he's got one left over, and if he has, then play Omega Assembly and think about it all again. Works out that he hasn't got one left over for what he wants to do, so that's fine.
I think you lost the 1-1 here.
No longer has the 2-drop to back this up. Ooh, 4 to face after all that. You saw how much that meant. Just that 4 damage. Orange wincing there. There's a lot of bombs in his deck.
Hunterace still has another Clockwork Goblin too. And a Goblin Bomb, which is actually kind of funny. That's just 2 extra damage at this point.
It was a big deal for Orange to have a mech survive through to next turn for the Ziliax as well. Would really like to be gaining some health sometime soon.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I imagine that Orange is just, or Hunterace is just going to clear this 4-3. I would really like it if Hunterace played the Ziliax on his 1-1 and just went face with it.
I'm looking at that because the equation has changed.
Okay,
Earlier you were
then.
saying that 3 damage for Orange versus 1 for Hunterace was not a good deal, but actually that equation
No, I
is
thought
switching
that was
around.
a pretty good deal for Orange.
But now it's not so much because now if he only takes 1, it's like
Ah, yes.
10% of his
Still
health
terrible.
total.
Still, yes, still terrible.
So suddenly it's switched the other way. And if Hunterace just does even bits of damage,
This would be
it's
a good
possible
time
that it's
for
a really good
master
deal.
plan.
Still weaving into hero power makes a lot of sense. Ah, he's not even going for it. He just says, Orange, you still need to deal with this board. You've been struggling to deal with it. What you got?
Yeah, and he's seen that Orange has had to dump minions just to try and absorb bomb damage. So you see there's no good way of doing anything for Orange. But here comes the assembly. This can get him out of trouble. Well, that's nice.
It's actually not that bad.
Steambot, Ziliax, go. Kill that. Gain 9 health. Plus the Ziliax health.
It goes to
This would
11.
be a good time for a master
Dies to a Mega
plan.
Devastator hero power.
And the hero power is the right one. Yeah, okay. So you save that for later. Definitely a big stabilizing interview. Something, whatever that word was, I just completely didn't know.
What about hero power Cruel Taskmaster?
Hero power, Cruel Taskmaster,
And a Ziliax.
and a Ziliax. Looks reasonable, doesn't it?
Makes the hero power line up a lot less nicely.
Something I'm finding amusing before this turn, not quite so much now, is how when Hunterace got the Goblin Bomb plus 2 great cards from the assembly, it was like, yeah, you've got 2 good cards and a bomb. And actually that bomb represents a
Yeah.
really important damage right now. Considering it just doesn't look like a card at all, it's actually really tough right now. Do a lot of work.
Another Orange Caliber.
Yeah, and Orange might have to, not just yet, but the way these bombs are lining up, an emergency Elysiana, which is when you know you're in real trouble. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So if you can get the maximum out of these Ziliaxes,
I mean, the good news is, from Orange's perspective, if Hunterace takes an off turn here, and Orange fades the bombs for another turn, the Elysiana is probably fine. You're not going to die on the backswing.
right?
Hunterace can't really punish it. You get rid of the bombs, and you might find better outs of winning this game. I don't think Orange's deck right now has the tools necessary to win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a double whammy. It's like he's in such a bad spot. It's a really important match as well. They're both on 4-4.
Yes.
This division is just the 4-4 division right now. Just one win takes you ahead of that pack so well. Boom.
Okay.
Now you can draw more bombs.
Yes. If Orange wanted to kill himself here, he has a very easy way of doing it.
Okay, then.
Thing is, he's got no, because he's under so much health problem, he has got no fight back. He can't just lay out a big board and say, if you don't kill me, there's a tempo swing, because Hunterace will kill you.
I mean, I really like the Elysiana here from Orange. You're in a really unfavored spot.
Okay,
Your deck is
then.
just made up of a lot of bombs. Maybe you find something off of it that is just incredibly good.
There's
Mega
just no
Assembly off
play.
Elysiana.
No play around Devastator. Like the Steambot, you really want to use.
No play around Devastator.
There's just no play around it. Yeah, and he really wants to stick this Steambot, but he can't do it right now. Because he needs the effective 9 armor.
It's just so difficult.
And there's always that temptation to say Hunterace is starting to run out of stuff, but you just don't run out of stuff because that hero power makes stuff every single turn.
Yes. Bulldozer, quite a good card. A Mega Devastator, maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, especially when you know Orange has been struggling for some time. He burned a lot of minions in just absorbing bomb damage.
This would be a good time
These
for a
2-for-1s
master
from the Devastators
plan.
are devastating.
Excellent pun.
Yeah, top 4. The danger with these matches when you're watching them is to think it's over, because you can see that Hunterace is in a massively strong position.
I think that if Orange draws a bomb here, it's over.
Okay. Well, presumably Hunterace thinks the same, by the way. He put the bomb in there. There's a bomb. Orange.
Orange is... He would need a Battle Rage for something to answer this 4-5. That's the spot that he's in right now.
So when you said earlier that Orange can kill himself really easily right now he's got to try to tiptoe through the minefield.
Yes, yes.
Or the bomb field. Or
There's just a very low odds that he wins this game. It starts with Battle Rage. Orange is going to say, you didn't get an Omega Devastator off of that.
Yeah, he's seen the
drone.
Devastator he knew was in hand. So it's actually a fair chance that he hasn't got one.
Hunterace is going to say, I do have it.
Yeah, this makes more sense to me than the Battle Rage play. It's a desperation play, but Hunterace is going to kill it off with a Devastator and come in for victory. Oh no, he's going to use a Goblin Bomb, of course he is.
And Hunterace takes it 2-0 with the best Goblin Bomb you'll ever see.
And I knew that the second you said that card wasn't very relevant, that somehow it would come back to haunt you. It's just one of those things. Hunterace managing to use all of his gathered cards in style and takes himself to 5-4, which puts himself in a really good spot here in Grandmasters because of the way that this division is shaping up.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out is that Hunterace played that, I think, pretty brilliantly, even though you can say he's very tired from the APAC broadcast.
Yes, it will be interesting to see, especially as he's not used to doing broadcasts, and he's a million miles away from home as well.
Sure.
He went sort of straight from Vegas into
Yes.
Taiwan, so his body clock
Huge
starting
flight,
off in
yes.
Europe.
You were complaining about jet lag.
For one,
Compared to him,
yeah,
you're doing fine.
And it is more tiring for him because he's obviously analysing very hard as if he's playing the whole time.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting to have a chat with him if he's able, because he didn't have Cam on there, so maybe he hasn't got a setup where he's able to.
Sure.
But Hunterace, world champion 5-4, does that say something about how tough this division is?
I think it does. I mean, you look at the European Grandmasters. His opponent in this match was Orange, who is a top-tier player. One of the highest caliber players in the entire world.
Yeah. I mean, he's got Orange. I hate saying stat things without checking them because I take pride in my work, but Orange has probably won as many top-tier tournaments as anybody in the world, I want to say.
That sounds about right.
Over time. He's just won so many seat stories and dream hacks and that sort of thing that I can't think of anyone who's won notably more tournaments than him. And he's also Hunterace's playtest partner, and Hunterace just looked pretty good in that one.
Yeah, I
mean... was it Orange, though, or is it the deck? You were, let's face it...
I don't think it was Orange. I think that Orange... you know what? Orange said before the match that I was going to disagree with a lot of his plays. And I don't really think I did. I thought that most of what Orange did was really, really good. I disagree with his deck choice.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
I don't think he drew the disagree with hands.
There was one game where he put Hunterace on a shield slam, and Hunterace had it, and then the game plan kind of got blown out of the water.
That's where he coined...
Yeah, but that's something that a normal Bomb Warrior can do anyways.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't really the deck specifically that faltered there.
But he didn't draw a Taskmaster with a minion for the whole game, really.
He didn't really draw any one-drops.
So
yeah,
we didn't get a good insight into how the deck can function. That kind of happened with Pavel yesterday as well. He didn't really get that crazy start. I think he got it in with Casey against Pavel.
I mean, but one thing to talk about is Orange only included 3 one-drops in his deck. So that had some effect on it as well, I would say.
It felt like the cards were more useful than I thought they were going to be. The Taskmasters seemed to have peripheral uses beyond just the obvious.
Sure.
Especially as...
For me,
the amount of removal you got from the Taskmaster seemed interesting.
For me, it felt like they were about as useful as I thought they would be, which is not very. But again, this matchup is like, there's some cards that matter way more than others. You know, the booms matter so much that like the cards that you put in otherwise matter a lot less, I would say. Obviously, that's not always true. You know, if you have a very fast start, then, you know, 1 into 3 into 3, suddenly all those cards in conjunction with each other become very powerful. And I think we saw that game. Hunterace had, there was one game where he had the Dr. Boom and Orange didn't for a very long time. You know, Orange had got him down to a pretty low life total, but it just wasn't enough to capitalize on.
The other way of looking at that is because of the early start Orange had, he could afford to be 3 or 4 turns later with a boom to equalise to some degree, because it's
sure,
bought you those extra 3 or 4 turns. So if you go with the cliche that whoever plays boom first wins, and then you say, well, actually, my deck means that I also win if I get it 2 turns later than my opponent.
Yeah, but remember that the deck list itself, you know, when you're drawing into Battle Rage and stuff, you can't really capitalize on those extra turns. So, like, it's a weird dichotomy.
Anyway, we have got Hunterace available to speak to us now. I don't know what state he's going to be in. Hunterace, congratulations. And before I ask you about the game, just want to ask you, how tired are you right now?
I'm pretty tired. Casting is definitely not something I do every day, and having cast 5 games now, or five total, especially series, 2 days in a row, and gotten very limited sleep because I had to fly over to Asia, right? So I had to switch my sleep schedule for that. It's been pretty rough, and to be honest, I didn't feel that great going into this match today, especially considering it was a warrior mirror, which normally just takes a long time. So
just talk about that mirror a little bit. What do you think of the deck that Orange and Casey brought this week? You can be honest. You're a caster now.
Well, to me, I just kind of approach it as it was just Bomb Warrior, but with some weird tech inclusions besides it. I think it's just very similar the way you approach the matchup. He just cut some specific cards, so you don't have to play around those anymore. And at the same time, he has the potential of getting the high roll with Efernium Rover into Taskmaster and potentially pressure me that way. But also a big thing about the deck is that he doesn't run that much reactive stuff, and his late game in general is pretty poor. So if I ever get ahead in the late game, it's just almost impossible for him to get back on the board. So as long as I can get ahead and develop boom at some point, it should just be a very favorite matchup for my Bomb Warrior side, I'm pretty sure.
Are you ready for tomorrow? Do you think that the schedule for tomorrow will be pretty similar?
Oh no, I'm not ready for tomorrow, Gal. It's gonna be worse. 1 more day now, and it's even 6 games tomorrow, so.
Yeah. Yep.
Oof. I'm not looking forward to it, but I got the win today, so. And I got a win versus Orange. I've never won versus Orange. Last week I won versus Tintalol, which I've never won against before, and now I win against Orange that I've never won against before, so. Maybe I'm just gonna win everything from now on and get a slot in the playoffs.
Yeah, it feels like it's the round 6 of a Swiss to you, right? You've played 5 rounds where you're watching other people and you're playing your 6th. Did you do anything special to prepare for that situation, or did you just take it how it came?
It's pretty hard for me to prepare for it. I tried to get as much rest as I could before I got here and tried to sleep at the plane and adjust my sleep schedule, but it's really hard, so I haven't really succeeded very good at it, so I'm really tired right now, and yeah, I'll try my best to get a good amount of sleep for tomorrow and be ready for the cast and my next match. Also, I think that playing 6 rounds of Swiss is way easier than casting 6 rounds straight in a row. It's super hard.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are very thankful that you have come in and done this week for them. I think a lot of people have been very entertained and enjoyed hearing how the world champion speaks. But we'll let you get off and get some sleep. Good luck tomorrow, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you around.
Hunterace saying that playing Swiss is actually easier than casting.
I mean, I just want to say that I think he did a really good job that game.
Yeah.
Even for how tired he was. You know, you go into this as a pro player, so I can actually speak from this from personal experience. The first day or the first couple days of casting, wow, it's just way harder than you might think. Right. You know, so to be able to play at that level even after an entire day of casting is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think it's even harder for the pro players because they're spending their time really looking at the hard analysis of every single turn.
Yeah.
Even when they're casting, because it's your habit, it's what you do.
Yes.
So yeah, it's good to hear people say that. It makes me look good. But we're going to take a break, talking of breaks, but we'll be back in just a couple of moments with the next match of the day, the second match for EU Grandmasters Week 5.